Hello, today we're talking about Mario 64's game audio engine interface. So there is this function called update game sound. This takes all the sound requests that have been done. Sound request is like a Goomba jumping makes a sound, Mario jumping makes a sound, Mario landing makes a sound, stuff like that, step sounds, everything. Takes all the sound requests and it selects up to 10 sound effects that are the highest priority in their respective banks. It puts them on a MIDI layer, and then the sound engine reads the MIDI that this function builds dynamically to play the sounds. So the way this works is we have 10 sound banks. Each sound bank has a table of sound effects it can play. So the first disadvantage here is because we only have 10 sound banks and each sound effect only exists in one bank, two of the same sound effects or two of the sound effect that are in the same bank cannot play at the same time. So a Goomba noticing you and a Goomba walking sound effect, I think they cannot coexist. Or even just a Goomba noticing and a Goomba noticing. So if you're between two Goombas, they're gonna interrupt each other, which of course, that's a bit of a disadvantage. I know it says here that there's a max channels per sound bank, but this is hard-coded to 1. And if you did not change this to 1, then this code would not work anymore, because this looks like a supported feature, but it's not. It selects the sound effects. If it's a valid sound effect, then it starts processing this. This is a whole weird doubly linked list. It's kind of rubbish. I just removed it. But yeah, not sure what the thought process was. Then when the sound effect just started, it's doing some stuff like set some sound IO stuff where, this is the jump table entry. This means start playing the sound. And it gets like the volume, the pan, the frequency, all that kind of stuff. This is a lot of code to do a lot of very simple stuff. And then, of course, once the sound is over, it deletes the sound. There's a bug where it can crash. I'm sure we've all seen it before. Another bug here. So it's a little bit of a jank. Dorial once told me that the way Mario 64's code works in general is they take a step forward, then they do two things that are unrelated to what they're trying to do, then they take another step forward, then they do more unrelated stuff, then they take 2 steps backwards, and then they finally solve the problem. And you can kind of see that here. Again, this is max channels for sound effects, max use channels for sound effects. It never does anything. There's a lot of weird stuff here. So this whole thing with the stuff it's calling is like, this is the panning stuff, this is the requesting stuff, selecting sounds, upgrading background music, deleting sounds, processing sounds. Let's see, selecting sounds. It's like 700 lines of code, actually 900 lines of code. It's quite a bit. So let's see what we have. Actually, before we move on, there's another thing I don't like about this. And that is, if you look at this, update game sound is actually called from the sound thread. The sound thread runs at 60 FPS. So every time the sound thread runs, it checks, hey, has the game ticked? And if the game has ticked, it does this. Complete nonsense. Why don't you just put this after the game looping tick? That would make so much more sense. You would not have to do this every single frame. Obviously, that is exactly what I did. This is now just part of the game. And as soon as the actors are done processing, we're doing that. But there's more. So, of course, we have simplified all this logic. Now, though, the cool thing here is I have 16 SFX channels instead of the 10. And instead of 10 with individual banks, we just have 8 duplicated banks. And we selected the highest 2 priority sounds per bank. This was kind of the most convenient way to do this. Technically, I'm sure you could put all 16 MIDI layers as like banks that have every sound available to them, but that would have been a lot more processing. We removed all the stupid doubly linked lists. They had nothing, they did not mean to be here. Do some logic to actually make sure that our sounds are not interrupted. And then for the playback logic, this is really all we need. There was no need to put 400 lines of code here. So if you look at all of this, ends at 475, starts at 300. Actually, yeah, 300. This is 170, maybe here. Maybe it's like 190 instead of 900. Okay, that's like a 4 times reduction. Of course, there's a lot of FDEFs here, so maybe it's just a 3 times reduction. Still, that's a big improvement. Now, what's the magic behind this? Why does this just work like this? The magic is in the actual sequence scripts. The way that the Mario 64 sequence scripts work is it's an actual just a MIDI sequence. Mario 64 uses a very modified MIDI script. Basically, it is Turing complete. You can program Tetris as a Mario 64 song. I have seen DevWizard do it. The way this works is they start these 10 channels we've seen before, 10 banks, and then they have 3.8 and 5.9. These are duplicated because these are general object sounds, meaning you need to play them a lot. So they have duplicated them. So you would think, hey, I can play 2 channel free, bank free sound effects at the same time. No, you can't. You have to play a channel 3 and a channel 8 sound effect. But channel 3 and channel 8 are the same. So you have to make sure to keep swapping those. And obviously they do not do that. So this is a little bit of a nonsensical setup if you ask me. Now my way of doing it is a little different. I just have the first 8 channels. I mean, do the math, right? We have 10 channels here, 2 are duplicated, so we have 8 channels. We just have the 8 channels that the original game has, and we have 8 duplicates. They do not cost anything to process while they're not active. So we just, if channel 0 is already full and we're playing a channel 0 sound effect, use channel 8 for the next one. It's all automatic under the hood. It just works with 2 sound effects. The channel scripts themselves are also slightly changed. If you look at this, we just have channel 0 doing this, just these 3 comments. If you look at this, it does all this shit. We don't need to be doing all this. Obviously, this is all duplicated code. You should not be duplicating your code for no reason. What else is here? We got all this. We're dealing, we're reading over and over. We are, what do we do here? Wait for SFX loop. We're just stopping the script. Wait, this is actually not stopping the script. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wait, so this, okay, I forgot about this. So you remember how I told you that what I'm doing makes it so that the channels don't cost anything? Because what we do, we actually like say, stop the script, stop running. What this does is wait 1 tick and then keep running. So this is like running every frame, but it like stops running every frame. We actually just do not run until the sound effect plays. I guess that's also a huge improvement, because now instead of paying for 10 channels when we use 0 channels, we pay for 0 channels when we use 0 channels. Another thing is, wait, there was something else important here. Let me find it real quick. We call the channel, we do this. There's a test layer finished. Yes, here, this is what I'm talking about. So while a sound effect is playing, we have to make sure that the sound effect is interruptible. So for this, we actually do have to delay every frame by 1, read the value. This also delays by 1 every frame. Then it has all this stuff. But there's something weird here. And that is, it checks if layer 0 is finished, but there's like 4 layers. So it is a little inconvenient to compose sound effects because you have to make sure that your longest layer is always layer 0, and they have not made sure of that. what we do is, where's my wait for SFX loop? Test layers finished. Here, we actually test all the layers. I guess that's not a big difference. Still, I prefer this. Makes it a little easier. I also added some functionality to allow you to interrupt it properly. Like you can say, keep playing, or we have a new sound, play that new sound, or you can say, stop right now. I think the original doesn't allow that. Honestly, I was not looking at this when I composed my thing, so I'm not entirely sure what the issues with this are anymore, but I know there's a ton. That's why you have crashes, that's why you have the low-pitched boo loft, that's why you have a lot of weird stuff. Anyway, this is available as a commit that only people to the RTYI repo can see. So if you want to see this implemented in Hacker Mario 64, you are going have to ask the people with RTYI repo access to port this, or wait until I publish my engine. Until then, bye bye.